What's up, Internet? Welcome back to the Engadget podcast. I'm Senior Editor Devindra Hardwar. This week I'm joined by podcast producer Ben Elman. Hey, Ben.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. And eventually, Cherlynn Lowe, Managing Editor at Engadget, will also. Actually, let me make sure. I want to get Cherlynn's title exactly right. Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
is
Okay.
it deputy or
No, it's not
okay?
deputy. It used to be deputy. Okay. And eventually, Cherlynn Lowe, managing editor in Gadget, will also join us to talk about some Apple news, the rumor of the Apple AI pin, and also Apple turning Siri into more of a chatbot. But first, we'll start with some other news before Cherlynn can get here. And as always, folks, if you're enjoying the news, please. As always, folks, if you're enjoying the show, please be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. Leave us a review on iTunes and drop us an email at podcast@engadget.com. I'd love to see more emails. Those could also be used in our Ask Engadget section of the site. And yeah, send us information. Send us voicemails. Come on, you can record something in a voice memo. It's not that tough. Send us
You all have high quality microphones in your pockets. Don't pretend like you don't.
your iPhone. Well, any smartphone microphone is actually pretty good these days. But yes, send us voicemails. Your voice could be in the show. So before we get to Apple, let's start with some other news going on. And one of the big surprising things I saw this week is the news that Sony's handing control of its Bravia TV business to China's TCL. So Sony is effectively getting out, mostly getting out of the TV hardware business. So they are forming a strategic partnership where TCL gets a 51% stake in Sony's home entertainment arm, and Sony will retain a 49%. That number is crucial because it means TCL has the majority shares for any things happening. And basically, what's going to happen is that future TVs, it's going to start operations April 2027, but future sets will be featuring TCL's panels, and they've been doing a good job of introducing new types of panels and new technology faster than Sony has. So they were definitely faster to like mini LED, and we'll probably see more stuff around micro RGB. The new TVs will still have Bravia as the label, and they'll be using Sony's image processing, which has really been Sony's claim to fame for the longest time. So at CES, I used to go into these black box meetings with Sony where they literally put you in a black, like a fully darkened room, and they're like, "Look at how much better our TVs are than the competition." And even though they're often using the same panels that are on LG's OLEDs or other, LCDs, they're using panels from other companies, but their image processing was always pretty top notch. They were always good about getting accurate colors, avoiding things like the moire effect you'd see on gray patterns. And in general, like that's what you get. You pay the Sony tax, you pay a higher price to get that image processing. Future Bravia TVs will be built by TCL, have their panels, and have Sony processing. So it's an interesting marriage of things. And I think for a lot of people, this probably doesn't matter much. I don't really know. Like, what does Sony mean to you now, Ben? Like, is Sony high end? Does it still feel like high end to you?
I was wondering when it stopped feeling high end because for the longest time, especially in the late 80s through the 90s, it felt like the top of the line for most
For
things
sure.
was
For
Sony.
hi-fi, for TVs, the Trinitron, I wanted a Trinitron forever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. When TVs were deep, Sony was the one to make them. Um, when did that change though?
It really, I mean, it's a long story, but it's really much an innovator's dilemma story because Sony dominated CRTs, right? High-end CRTs. Trinitron was the technology that really got you great color accuracy. Those TVs just looked great. They had those wonderful flat screens. I remember watching anime in the 90s being like, man, I wish we could get like flat widescreen TVs in the US because they didn't really exist. And in Japan, Sony had like 16 by 9 TVs, CRTs, and they just really missed out on the HDTV era. Like they were slow to get to flat panels. They didn't really invest much in that technology, and they basically let Samsung steal the show. They let LG steal the show. So Korean manufacturers came in who could build those panels because Sony was just they're like CRTs forever. This is what we do. And now it's funny, this is like third wave. And now Chinese manufacturing has gotten to the point where TCL and Hisense can build incredibly high quality TVs with great panels very cheaply. So now everybody's out there getting big ass TVs. This is why you can get a 80-inch TV, a 77-inch TV, even like a 100-inch TV for not that much money compared to what that used to cost. So that's basically the whole story there. Sony couldn't quite keep up. A couple years ago, I wrote a story about will Sony ever be king of consumer
Well,
electronics?
yeah, and they got mad at you for that.
They
You've
did.
talked about that before.
That was fun. Yeah.
It's just funny that now, yes, you mentioned Korea took over the show. When
Hmm.
I think about high quality things, I am now thinking about Samsung or the Lucky Gold Star Company, LG.
Nobody says that, but
I
yes,
know, I know.
LG.
I heard Chris Velasco say it once and I was like, I'm going to do this at one
Now
point.
it stands for life's good is what
That's
their
true.
motto
That's
is.
true.
But I do remember like the era of the 80s and 90s, Korean hardware was always seen as like low rent, cheaper, things that were falling apart, and Chinese hardware, same kind of deal. And now just the quality range, the quality rate has really increased for all those countries. Japan can't just rely on like, okay, we make the best stuff, except everyone's doing really good stuff much more cheaply than Japan. So yeah, interesting story happening in the TV space. If you're looking for an affordable TV, I still send people typically to TCLs because they've been making great sets with a variety of technology. They've got Roku TVs, Android TVs, at a variety of sizes too. I'm at the point where I bought one of the first mini LED TVs a couple of years ago, and it's 65 inches. It looks great. It's a TCL 8 series, but now it's like I'm looking at these prices. I'm like, I could fit a 77-inch OLED in here. It would
Does
be amazing.
TCL have like a huge not continuum, but let me take
Line.
a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, do they just have like a huge price range? Because usually I think about TCL TVs being
Mhm.
relatively cheap and kind of filled with bloatware, but am I wrong there?
I mean, they make some of the best cheap TVs, but yeah, they started with cheap TVs. As of a few years ago, they became the best-selling TV company in the world.
Mm.
So that's just by flooding the market at the low end and the mid-range. They didn't really play in the high end too much. So I feel like this Bravia, this whole partnership, could be TCL's play for really, really high-end sets. And back at CES, like not too long ago, I was looking at those micro RGB panels. I was looking at their next gen tech. Clearly they're onto like some amazing stuff there. It's just going to have the Sony branding, but let us know. Let us know what you think. Do you have a Sony TV? Do you miss the heyday of Sony in consumer electronics?
One
Drop us
comment
an email.
is
Yeah.
from Tech Squid TV that they say Sony is so tragic, they always beat the crowd to the punch and then lose out. It's basically not fair. What part of resting on the Trinitron laurels is not fair?
It's yeah, they didn't beat anybody to the punch when it came to flat panels. Like they held on to flat panels. And this is something or they held on to CRTs as long as they could to the point where LG and Samsung started making them better, cheaper, and ushered in the HDTV era, whereas Sony was still stuck with like, hey, we've got HDTV CRTs. These are really enormous sets that look great, but they're also huge. It's the same story happening now with like Toyota and Honda, who have lagged behind from the Korean car makers. Like Kia and Hyundai are like kicking butt when it comes to technology and value in cars, and Toyota's like, maybe not EVs. Maybe not EVs so quickly. Look at hybrids. We love hybrids. Toyota is great at hybrids. Innovator's Dilemma, folks. Look it up. It applies to so many situations, and especially this sort of scenario.
Maybe if their offices stopped using fax mach excuse me, you
Mhm.
stopped using fax machines so much, they'd be able to catch up.
Perhaps, perhaps. Also, Japanese companies like as a Japanese corporations, especially the big ones, like they do things in old, weird, big ways. Like they're not nimble, they're not fast, and they're not as innovative as stuff from other countries who are a little hungrier. That's kind of where it is. We forgot to mention this last week, but there was a massive Verizon outage a couple of weeks ago. It was a 10-hour outage. If you're a Verizon customer, you probably noticed they didn't really explain what happened. Like they said it was a technical issue. Um, it took a very long time for Verizon to fix, but I cannot remember the last time there was such a widespread outage. We've seen internet outages of when AWS goes down, right? Or when Cloudflare goes down, and then certain websites and certain services goes down. But man, a whole 10 hours over a workdays of time where Verizon service was unavailable. I really feel for everybody who relied on their cell phones for GPS and for everything else. I
Do
kind of
we
want
have
to
an
do
estimate of how many
Mhm.
people were affected?
it was, I think it's all of Verizon's customers. It was, they say it was concentrated in the eastern US. They didn't give us a number. I don't think we got an actual like cause to it as well. So this went on for so long. I was like, is this a cyber attack? Is this like some sort of like is somebody just trying to see like can they hit our infrastructure in key ways? There's a lot we don't know. There's a lot Verizon isn't saying. They are offering a $20 credit to people if you go through a website. Shout out to Anil Dash on Blue Sky, a longtime internet, person and activist. He mentions if you go to Verizon's customer service and just be like, "Hey, this outage affected my work and my business. Pay up." You could probably get even more money from them. Like I think people have been getting up to $80 saying like you have affected my business because of the quality of your service. So that is a thing you may be able to try. What's up?
The confusing thing, though, is
Mhm.
that I was not affected. In
Interesting.
the middle of New York City, I turned my Wi-Fi off when I heard about this just to see what the situation was,
Mm.
and I had service. I don't understand what it is about, it maybe being in a denser area
Yeah.
was the big save for me, but I'm not
You're
sure.
like in the backbone, like the internet backbone, like there's a lot of stuff there. I didn't hear that the people in New York were unaffected, but certainly looking at
I
the
think it
people,
depended on where you were
yeah.
in the metro area too. It
Hmm.
was weird.
Yeah. Very strange that it lasted so long. There's a lot of open questions here. I will say, folks, if you rely on your phone for GPS and you do a lot of driving, make sure you download your local maps to like Google Maps and to whatever you're using. And that is a thing you have to do manually. So in Google Maps, I believe you click your username icon, you choose local maps, and then you choose like an area that you want to download. Get those maps because any service issues, you want to have something that works. GPS still works even without cellular service because it's pinging satellites. So, just do that to be safe and let us know if you were affected and what do you think. I'm trapped with Verizon for a little bit because of my phone contracts. But this is the first time I'm considering like maybe I should just go to AT&T. Shout out to the AT&T guy who came to my door that day. He was like, "Hey, buddy, want to want to
Wow,
switch
really?
carriers?" Yeah, I was like, "Wow, good timing.
Yeah,
Just
like
you're on the ball."
fantastic timing.
Yeah, fantastic timing. I use AT&T for home internet, so I was like, "Just tell me when you have 2 gigabits fiber. That's all I care about. I'm not going to do your cellular yet." Anyway, wild thing there. We also saw the news that YouTube CEO Neil Mohan made some announcements this week. He promises more AI features in 2026. You'll be able to create shorts using an AI generated version of yourself. More slop, great. At
Boo.
the same time, he's also like he says that YouTube is also going to be trying to deal with other like AI slop and bad AI content. So I don't know how that push and pull is going to work because
The only
YouTube
way to
wants that
defeat
content.
a bad AI is with a good AI. That's what they
Mhm.
always say.
I'm going to read from our piece here by Matt Tate. Mohan didn't elaborate further about how this feature, that is the using AI generated likeness feature, will work when it launches, but he acknowledged the critical issue of deepfakes currently polluting the web and reaffirmed his company's support for new legislation such as the No Fakes Act. YouTube also allows its own creators to protect themselves against unauthorized use of their likeness using a detection feature that scans newly uploaded videos for matches. So, okay, uh, good AI versus bad AI. We will see
And
what's
going
happening.
behind the headline here, it
Hmm.
probably was an edict from like higher level alphabet
Hmm.
corporate that's like, we're going to be putting Gemini in basically everything. Currently, we're putting it in G Suite and Gmail and everything, and it's going to be coming for YouTube. Just be ready for it. And they're
Just
like,
be
okay,
ready.
yes, and
Yeah.
we'll figure out how to use the video generation, the VO stuff, or yes, VO Nano Banana 2 or 3, or it's confusing.
All the things. It is funny that there is a drill post for everything, right? Because right now every company is like turning the AI dial and seeing how people
Yeah,
respond.
turning the
It's what
AI dial and watching the crowd like it's Price is Right to see where I should leave it.
that's really what they're all doing right now. It is sad. It's pathetic. In other news, the FTC isn't giving up on its antitrust case against Meta. We talked about when that happened. It lost its antitrust case to Meta last year, but the FTC is appealing that ruling, in which a federal judge found that the government hadn't proved that Meta is currently operating as a monopoly. Here's a quote from the FTC: Meta has maintained its dominant position and record profits for well over a decade, not through legitimate competition, but by buying its most significant competitive threats. The Trump Vance FTC will continue fighting its historic case against Meta to ensure that competition can thrive across the country to benefit all Americans and U.S. businesses. End quote. Oh man, you gotta feel bad for Zuckerberg, who has been like a little lapdog for the entire new Trump administration, being like, "Please, sir, please don't continue to sue us. We're good. Look, I will give up moderation. I will give up all DEI initiatives. I will take the nonprofit work that I've been doing to support community of colors. I will obliterate it just for you, Mr. President."
I started doing MMA just so I could make a little bit more sense to your target demographic.
Oh man,
That's
I
not
think he did
true. I think he
that.
just liked doing
He
sports,
just did
but
that.
still.
He's a rich guy with way too much time on his hand, but it is sad. It is sad we didn't get to see the Zuckerberg Musk fight, right? Like that was a thing for a while.
Yeah, they were talking about doing it in the actual Colosseum in Italy.
Hmm. That should be how we determine who are the new billionaires, right? Like you reach a certain point, it's like, okay, well, now you have to earn your title of billionaire, of lead capitalist, fight your opponent to the death. That's the only way. There can only be so many.
Another important thing to mention here, though, is that it seems like the FTC is continuing a bit of the Lena Khan logic
Yeah,
because the statement says, hey, you're touching too many things.
yeah.
You've bought up all of your competition, and it's not that you're doing price fixing. It's not that you have sucked up all of the advertising dollars that used to go to smaller websites. It's that nothing is allowed to grow when the tree is just so big.
Basically. I mean, they're basically going to take credit for a lot of the work that Lena Khan's FTC did here. But it is funny that everybody hates Meta. Like the Democrats hate Meta for very clear reasons about their lack of great moderation and the recklessness of how Meta has deployed social media technologies, and all of that. And Republicans are mad about quote unquote censorship that didn't
But
really.
is that true anymore?
Yeah.
Like, I haven't heard anybody crowing about censorship for, maybe a year and a half or a couple years. Maybe the real defining moment of when the tide started shifting back in the other direction is when Zuck was wakeboarding with the American flag.
That's certainly a thing. That's certainly a thing. I
But
don't know.
if I were, like, sitting in a boardroom in Meta right now, I would be
Mhm.
like, "Damn, why do they hate us? Like, actually, we have done as much as we possibly can to support this administration, and now I guess, like, Meta is the lightning rod when they're saying, like, "We're taking on big tech. We're doing something." So we'll continue to press this case using, whatever legal means that are available to them.
I think part of it is just like Trump is that elephant who will never forget, right? And Facebook kicked him off the platform after the events of January 6th, where a Trump follower mob, attacked the Capitol. And Twitter did that as well, but Twitter changed owners, right? So it's like he doesn't have he's not going to blame the new owners of Twitter. The new owners of Twitter love him, but
The new
Meta
owners of
still.
Twitter did a
Yeah.
significant amount of money donating to their campaign.
Yeah, and maybe he broke election laws. We'll see how that turns out. But yes, Facebook is still run and led by Mark Zuckerberg, and I think no matter what he does, no matter how much groveling he does, Trump will always be mad that he was kicked off that platform because he did nothing wrong, right? That's kind of the story there. Hey, speaking of all this, there was a great story over at Bloomberg, and New York Times reported part of this as well. But basically, a story that the Trump family has made $1.4 billion from crypto, just from crypto. The New York Times had a separate story that the Trump family had made around the same amount from crypto and other deals. So that's other money coming in. And in their story, they were like, oh, yeah, it was like $800 million from crypto. I think the true number is probably upwards of 2 billion because a lot of this stuff is happening secretly and in shadow. So that's a lot of money.
Cool.
That's cool. That's cool.
Cool.
We're just gonna put that out there that a sitting president is milking his position and influence so much to the tune of billions of dollars.
So
On
when we talked
things.
about this in pre-production, you were talking
Mhm.
about how Jimmy Carter had to sell his peanut farm.
Jimmy
But it's not just
literally.
Jimmy Carter. There are a lot of stories. I think the Obamas were
Yeah.
close to broke when they left the White House. The Clintons were certainly close to broke when they left the White House, and that's why
Mhm.
Bill went on the big time, big bank and leadership conference
You're not
speaker
making much
circuit.
money as president, right? It is a compared to some people, like compared to being a corporate lawyer or something, you're not making a ton of money. Yeah.
You're also paying for a lot of your own things.
Food.
Like,
You pay for food.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like people don't understand. You're sitting on Air Force One enjoying a meal, and you paid for that meal. You, the private citizen, paid for that meal. So basically, you're getting paid whatever it is, $250,000 or so every year as president. And you're putting a lot of that money back in. And honestly, you're not even thinking about it. You're too busy leading the free world. Meanwhile, now the Trump family is like, actually, America first coin or whatever.
Or whatever. Or whatever. It's I'm just gonna put that number out there and just be like, hey, that doesn't seem fair. That seems maybe a little illegal. The story of the Trump family. I guess that's the title of the book about these folks. In other news, we wrote about Adobe Acrobat. Remember Adobe Acrobat? It's now letting you generate presentations and audio podcasts from your documents. Okay, how do we feel about this?
Notebook
Are you,
LM did it first.
they did, but do you feel threatened, Ben? They can make
Uh,
podcasts now.
this is a very specific use case.
Hmm.
Let me say that again. This is a very specific use case for making podcasts, though. The times people I've heard use Notebook LM to quote unquote make podcasts is when they have a ton of information that they need to internalize and they want to listen to it while they're like at the gym on the treadmill or something. The thing that I'm always bringing up as an example for this is taking a chapter or two of a med school textbook
Hmm.
and um, making that into a podcast. There are specific podcast companies that do make medical education stuff that
Hmm.
could be threatened by this, but I think the big difference is the companies run by people end up being able to use specific case studies and case reports and their own like experience.
Yeah.
And the books can only really, or you can really only make a Notebook LM or Adobe Acrobat podcast out of the text in the book.
Hmm.
You can't have the sort of color commentary that comes from people's lived experiences. So I'm not sure. I think it's an interesting possibility. I was
For
talking
what
with
you're
a
saying.
designer friend last
Yeah.
night also about whether or not she feels threatened now that there's Canva
Hmm.
resources and there are AI generated images and people just don't need the professional graphic designer quite so much anymore. But she said that it was also a good thing because Canva templates have pretty much like Canva templates have made the bad, low paying jobs
Hmm.
that she would always get contacted for pretty much disappear.
Hmm.
Now you can design something that looks good enough and make that the flyer for your art show or something like that, rather than reaching out to some designer friend that you know and
Yeah.
say, hey, can I pay you $100 or less to do probably like 4 or 5 hours of work when I know that you
Yeah.
probably charge near $100 an hour usually.
That's good news for like established designers. I do feel like, it's like anything. The fledgling people who just are working other jobs, right, and trying to get into the industry, they're the ones ideally suited for those kind of jobs, and that low level work is going to be eaten up by AI, is already being eaten up by AI. I'm seeing stories about artists who are basically selling their templates through Canva, right, creating their own designs, and they're making bank from that. So that's
Mm,
another way artists can do it. So you got to be flexible. You have to think differently about this stuff. I will say real quick, I do something similar, not creating podcasts, but sometimes if I want to read an article and I also want to go for a walk, I will turn on the read aloud feature that's in Safari or many mobile browsers and just let an AI voice like dictate that article to me. So
mm,
there is value there. I'm more worried about AI summaries and consuming that as the way you consume a medical paper or something really important.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
where it gets a little tricky. But yeah, let us know what you think, folks. Will you be turning your PDFs into podcasts? Drop us an email, podcast@engadget.com. What's up,
Okay,
Chair?
let's pause here.
Yeah.
Let's get Cherlynn in.
All right. Chat, we are regrouping, getting everybody together, and we'll talk about Apple. Okay. Can you hear us, Sherlyn?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
And can you guys hear me?
Can hear you.
Cool. I'm just closing some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the chat
And now we
open
can see
now.
Cherlynn too.
There we go. Oh shoot, I just forgot. I don't have my hair the way I want it. Hang on.
Wait, okay. All right, wait.
It's okay.
Now you
It's all right,
can't
it's
see
all right, it's all right.
Cherlynn anymore.
It's all right, it's all right.
No.
I forgot. But
No, just Cherlynn, let me know when you're like
Yes.
all ready and then I'll put
I
your video
thought I
feedback on.
was, which is really hilarious because I'm so used at this point to like attending all my calls like the way y'all saw me just now, which like by the way I have no problem with. But it's just like I went to the extra effort of like getting my bangs done, like blow dried, to be like not having them down is such a waste of my effort.
Why waste it?
Yeah,
Yes.
but now it's a complete mess again. So you know what?
All right. Well, chat has been excited. Everyone's like,
that's
she's
nice.
here. Long time
Aw.
no see. Everyone is excited for us to talk about the Apple AI pit.
I don't know that this is better, but we can. I'm fine to be camera on. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
It's fine. It's a Thursday morning. We're all just waking up, man. We're all just trying to survive.
I've got the K-pop star floppy bangs going on, except for like they're not floppy enough. Like they're very stiff right now because my hair is stiff. I don't know. Anyway.
All right.
Yeah, I've been putting more effort into my hair now, and I've realized that the stream has not seen it at all.
Yeah.
Once again, because it's happening close to first thing in the morning.
Yeah, so it goes. We did convince Ben
It's
to
very
use
close.
the Apple AI camera stuff, so that's helped
Oh,
us.
the selfie
Yay.
camera thing?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
The cleanup stuff, the sort of like background, portrait light. Makes a difference. All right, folks, we're gonna get into it. Cheryl, let me know when you're good and recording.
Yeah. I was checking my mic inputs, but now let me double check. Yep, I'm good. Recording.
Okie dokie.
Should we do the syncy thingy?
Yeah, we can do it again since there were a lot of people who were happy to do it the first time. Love seeing your clap or snap fingers emojis in the chats. So let's do it one more time.
Okay.
So counting down from 3, 2, 1. And some silence. And I think we're pretty much done.
We got
Tom Rogers says, I just noticed your hair, Ben. I don't usually say anything. Nice
Is that Tom
locks,
Rogers?
bro.
I thought it was as in like I didn't know Rev Rogers might be the new name.
Yeah, like
for Tom
YouTube
Rogers.
has
Right,
changed things around recently where like they're going by usernames rather than like
gotcha.
what display name you want to come up. So
I will say I've noticed, Ben. Thank you for maintaining your hair. We're all maintaining our hair. I used to shower before the stream. I was like, wait, why am I doing this? I don't need to do this. It doesn't really matter. You just need to be camera ready, folks. All right, we're
Yeah.
gonna talk about the Apple AI
We're
Pin.
not doing the podcast in smell-o-vision.
When you meet in person, then it's different. Yeah. All right, ready to go?
Yep.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the main topic of this episode, Apple's AI Pin. Joining me to chat about it is Engadget managing editor Cherlynn Lowe. What's up, Cherlynn?
Hello.
Hello, welcome back. I guess
Thank
we,
you.
we haven't talked since CES, so welcome back and welcome
Wasn't
back.
that long ago either, right? Like it just doesn't feel that long
It
ago.
feels like a year ago.
Yeah.
It feels like it's such a concentrated time of work and
Yeah.
suffering that we're doing that. But yes, we are here to talk about this report we saw from the Information this week. Late yesterday, they dropped a story saying Apple's developing an AI wearable pin. Not many details, but the gist of it is that it is a small little pin that looks like what do you call it? The AirTags, like a slightly bigger AirTags with cameras, multiple, microphone, speaker. No real details on how it's going to work, just that this thing is in the works. And we had a lot of thoughts about that
Yeah.
on the Engadget Slack, just because it seemed like a real WTF moment. Apple, a company that has let Samsung go years with foldables, right? We're on the Galaxy Fold 7 now, before debuting their own. Samsung has had, how many rings has Samsung had?
Just one. Just the
one.
Galaxy Ring. Yeah.
Other companies have had rings for years. That's not a new category. Apple's not in that category, but Apple is apparently rushing to get an AI pin. And
It's because Johnny Ive hasn't been threatening to make a foldable or a ring. He is now Sam Altman's new best bud. And Apple is like, man, sometimes it's your own people.
Sometimes it is, but so that OpenAI device, that's clearly what the Information is saying this is being positioned against and what everybody's kind of waiting for. But even the details of that device, like, but that is not a hardware company. Even if Johnny Ive is designing the hardware, OpenAI has not proven its ability to deliver a consumer product beyond ChatGPT, and even that's like kind of messy. It seems very strange that Apple, of all the companies, the one that takes a step back, usually takes time to see when it jumps into a category and tries to do it better than everybody, is reportedly trying to do an AI pin. And also, what the hell is an AI pin? What do you do with an AI pin, right? Like, it is a thing that you're going to wear. I assume it's the main thing is you're going to be talking to like the next gen Siri. But Cherlynn, what did you think about this thing when you heard the news?
I want to be very clear. This is a report. And so it's not like Apple's out there saying we're going to. Which means a lot of things could change, which means a lot of this may or may not be true. But what we seem to think is happening is like Dev said, right? Like a pin device with cameras, which means more sophisticated than what's out there, like a plot note pin, like a B wearable, like even the Pebble Index 01, which we talked about the last episode I was on around CES time. Those are AI native devices, but they really exist for a very specific function, which is to listen. And so with cameras involved, I think there's a lot of complication there that might make this challenging engineering wise for anyone trying to tackle this, right? We've seen Humane fail spectacularly because they tried to do too much. I think because of that. I think the generation of like AI first devices coming out would do best to be simple first. And I was reading our article on the AI pin, Apple AI pin rumor, and one thing that our writer, brought up, which I think is a very good point, is that Apple is such a privacy-focused company, and to do an always listening device or a camera on your body is very against like the privacy-minded approach, which begs the question: will this device process on device? Will the AI requests be processed locally? And if so, what kind of chip are you going to use? I mean, Apple Silicon is good, but like, what are you? It just there's a lot of to me, those are the engineering questions, and those are the
You cannot
Especially
put
because they
much
want it
time
to
in.
be only a little bit thicker than an AirTag. Like,
Right.
goodness gracious.
That tells me that this thing is going to be relying on your iPhone, right? This is an extension of your iPhone to get Siri out there. My worry is like, given the size, like battery life, it's not going to be an always on camera thing, but the potential is it could be. And maybe you don't know when it's recording. And we have seen a lot of reports of people wearing Meta Ray-Bans and being weird and gross with them, basically, like just having interactions, often with women, on the street or on the beach, and then they see themselves on TikTok later being like, I didn't realize I was on camera for this, and was this like a social media thing? It feels kind of gross. It feels like you're using my image in ways like that is the thing. We are already surrounded by smartphone cameras, but it is a very active thing you have to do, right? To hold up your camera. And that now seems like a thing you're doing to be like, hey, I am recording you. I'm signaling to you I'm recording you, just so you know what's happening. That's not true with a wearable device like this, right?
Right.
Also,
So
connect that with the idea that in Japan and
Mhm.
maybe Korea, you have like the camera sound is always on
Yeah, that's a
because
big thing.
people are always taking pictures. Cherlynn, go on.
Yeah.
no, I mean, I think we're thinking about some different questions in terms of like exposure to people recording you all the time. I feel like at this stage in society, we kind of have to just eat it and be like, that's the reality we live in, unfortunately, right? Like I'm not saying we should be okay with it, but I am saying it is not just a problem of AI pins. It is a problem of since our phones all got cameras. I think
Mhm.
it's just been the case. So um I agree that there are those kinds of concerns that should be talked about, but I'm again more thinking that Apple could have taken a more simple approach, right? The Devindra, when we were talking about this as a
Mhm.
team, we were like, oh, excuse me, what other things make sense for Apple to go into? Like, if you look at the other types of AI devices out there, there's, like I said, rings. There's, I'm wearing the Bee wearable right now,
Mhm.
that Amazon recently acquired, and and I am testing this, maybe for a review, maybe just to understand the space. But the AI Bee wearable, it's surprisingly okay. Like I don't hate it, and
What
I
does
am
it
going
do exactly?
right. So it's listening when I more or less tell it to. So you have
Mhm.
some controls over when it doesn't listen, right? And so it goes like it stops listening after like 15 minutes or 1 hour, or like you set the time of however long it detects no voices.
Mhm.
And when it is listening, it's just kind of understanding what's going on in your day and then making to-dos for you.
Okay.
So you go into the app and you look at your to-dos after when you want to, and you can also like turn off whatever. And like I go in and I'm like, oh right, I was supposed to do that. Oh right, I did. And like I find myself speaking out loud without having to push a button, right? I'll just be like,
Mhm.
right, remind me to file my expenses later on, or
Yeah.
remind me to like make that appointment.
So
And
it's
it'll
an
show up.
ambient listening device. It's just there listening, and you kind of assume it's going to work, right?
Right. And you have to like look, I know
Mhm.
Victoria at Verge reviewed it recently. I was on a podcast with her where we were talking about her review, and like
Mhm.
to her point, there are still a lot of silly mistakes it makes, but it is getting better. When Victoria reviewed it was like mid 2025. So like it's been almost 6 months, I think, and it has gotten a bit better in my opinion. I am liking it. And I think that's simple, that's straightforward. And it's the same premise that Pebble's founder Eric Michkovsky was talking about with the Pebble Index 01, which is you
Mhm.
just push a button, it's always on you. You push a button and you just say, remind me to do this. That one's even more
Yeah.
like single purpose. So
It just takes notes. It just takes it's all it does. It's jotting down text. I totally hear you. My thing is like the reason I'm a little incredulous about this is because like for the love of God, Apple, you don't need to do this. Like you don't
I
need to
know.
play this game. You've got the Apple Watch, which people are talking to already. You've got the AirPods are some of the most popular devices out there. People are talking to Siri and already having that engagement right there. Like Apple has a strong family of devices. They don't need a standalone
So
AI device. Like that's my main thing.
yeah, I mean Lucky Dog podcast in the chat also brings that point up. And I think a lot of people like Deepro9 agree, which is that on their phone, AirPods, Watch all already have microphones for listening. And you can think about the speakers in your home as well.
Yep.
I don't disagree with that. I think it all depends on what kind of person you are. I am the type of person that wants that always listening experience, that's always just ambiently listening. And with the things that you all are talking about, watches and AirPods. Devindra, are
Mhm.
you an Apple Watch wearer that like wears it all the time, or are you more like me and I just wear it when I go outside, like when I leave my house?
I'm trying to wear it all the time just to have that in there. And I do say like I've gotten used to it. The new ones are also thinner
Lighter and
lighter
thinner,
than the
yes.
ones before. So like it is I have it on all day because it is to me I find it helpful and I find it useful. I really only take it off. I don't wear it to sleep. I really don't need the sleep tracking and like
Right,
showers and stuff. I don't need it
right.
anymore. I try to keep it on all the time. Yeah.
It is like not everyone wears it the way you
Yeah.
do, right? Like you said, you're trying to, and I see the benefit of wearing a watch. I'm not the sort of person that enjoys having like a watch face on my wrist when I'm typing. Like that gets in my way somehow. And the Be wearable and other devices like the Note Pin, the Plot Note Pin, for example, it is like surprisingly lower profile because it's so much simpler.
It's
And
something in your
it's
wrist though, right? Or can that be worn other ways?
anyway, you can there,
Okay.
it comes with accessories for like as a necklace, as a, like a magnetic thing to your thing. So it does compete with this like so-called Apple AI pin, but
Mhm.
to go back to the Apple device, I think adding cameras makes things more complex. Doing on-device processing, if that's the goal, makes things harder to design. So I don't know. The information report was like, oh, company is confident and like maybe 2027 and like mass producing however many
See,
million units.
like fast track. That is a fast track thing
Yeah.
for Apple to produce and jump into a new space. I do want to point out like my broader theme, and I'm writing a response to this too, and just like kind of how silly it seems. Whatever Apple does, it is going to be centered around this next generation Siri. There is a report from Mark Gurman at Bloomberg that it's going to be they're all going to have like a sort of a chatbot feature, which I
Mhm.
also think was part of the original demo of the smarter Siri when they announced Apple Intelligence that you'd be able to type to it and interact with it like a chatbot. So the idea like that's what Apple has to sell you, right? It's like, okay, let's make Siri great. Let's make it personal so it can see your email and have your data securely. But also, you as a person in the Apple ecosystem, you have your phone. Maybe you have a MacBook. Maybe you have a watch. Maybe you have your AirPods connected to your phone. You have multiple ways of engaging with this Siri. And maybe the AI pin is just going to be like one of those other ways for people who don't want to wear things like you, Cherlynn. You don't want to wear
Yeah.
the watch all the time or something. There are also reports that they're looking into bringing thermal cameras to the AirPods, which could be useful for like just hey, you ask the question about something in front of you or have a sense of like how what your environment's like when you interact with Siri with future devices. Maybe it'll be a little smarter. So I see it as like a drop in the bucket of whatever this AI ecosystem is for Apple, but it also feels kind of desperate because this is such an unproven category, and it also feels like Apple's better off investing in like making the Apple Watch smaller and more convenient. Like if the Apple Watch was easier to wear and felt like nothing on you, Sherlyn, you'd probably be more akin to wearing it more. The Apple Watch itself doesn't have to be a watch. You know, you see what people do with older models. Like there's the company that lets you just drop an old Apple Watch into like an iPod-esque frame and you turn it into like a little mini iPod Shuffle because it has its own processor and you can connect to AirPod wireless headsets and stuff. An Apple Watch can be many things too. So I'm not surprised they're experimenting with this. I would be surprised if they fast track it when this is just such an empty category at this point. But
The
yeah.
th- the thing that the analogy that came up for me when
Mhm.
I saw this report was imagine a student that is overall pretty smart and shows aptitude in class talking about how they want to be an astronaut but they're currently failing physics. Like
Mhm.
we haven't seen anything of the smarter Siri yet. They've had to delay it. There's no timeline for when it's actually going to be out.
We know it's
Meanwhile,
getting
this
Gemini
report,
powered. That's all. That's all we know, and that's not even being fully powered by Apple's own stuff. They have to run
yeah.
to
So
Google.
meanwhile, this
Yeah.
report says they might want to make a run of some millions of AI pins. Excuse me?
Mm-hmm. It feels, it just feels like, hey, I'm sure their investors and the people looking at the Apple stock like to hear that Apple is doing AI shit. That's really it. Because every time over the last few years when it seems like, oh man, people aren't really liking Apple Intelligence, or it seems like Apple's behind, their stock takes a deep hit. Like it takes a noticeable hit. And that's just where we are right now. Like we're in the AI hype cycle. Nvidia says, "Yay, AI, we can make more AI." Stock goes up. Anybody says anything bad about AI or tries to be realistic about it, stock immediately goes down. So I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to play that game as well.
I
Any other
mean, the
thoughts
news
about
this
this? Yeah.
morning was OpenAI chair Brett Taylor saying that AI is probably in a bubble. Cool. Okay.
Cool. Thanks, buddy. And also there are the reports of Satya Nadella and also Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang being like, "Hey, don't say bad things about the AI. Okay? It hurts our feelings It hurts our
And it
value.
hurts the
I think
AIs.
Yeah.
I think for the first time, or not for the first time, but for the first time in a while, maybe that like they're realizing that their hype is not matching the audience or the public, the general public's hype, and therefore a lot of their investments based on their own silo
Yeah.
echo chamber hype is not going to pay off, and they're realizing that, and that's why they're like, oh, don't hate on it, because they really want to make that the way, whereas the rest of us are resistant because we don't see it as a positive. And I've somehow declared myself as a we on the side of against this, and I am. This is really not the way. I remain skeptical and cynical about AI as it is right now. Not to deviate too far off from our main topic, but I just think it's hilarious that they're like, oh, I've got billions of dollars and I want y'all to like this so that I can earn more billions of dollars. I think they're, if I'm putting on my therapist hat, which I love to do, I think they're like, shoot, I could like, shit, I could like lose my job, or like, oh no, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna like meet my targets if I don't get people on board. And that's where it's coming from. And from that personal view, I'm like, I get where you're coming from, but like maybe be a human and accept that you've chosen the wrong thing to bet on.
That's your problem. That's not our problem.
Right.
Don't make your problem our problem, basically. And that's kind of what's happening.
Devindra, I sent you
Yeah.
something on Slack. Can you put it
Okay.
up on the shared
I can
window?
only see Slack on this computer, unfortunately. So you
Oh,
can send it to me in WhatsApp.
darn. Okay.
That you can
Well,
put in the chat in the thing. I can see if I can get to it there.
or you can just look up the the Wall Street Journal article. CEOs say AI is making work more efficient. Employees tell a different story.
Yeah.
Because there was a interesting diagram from the poll that they did, showing that the average worker says 40% of them say we're saving no time, and 19% of the C-suite is like, actually, we're saving 12 hours. I am personally saving 12 hours. What? Writing 3-word emails
Yeah.
with a signature that says sent from my iPad?
What were you actually doing? Like Satya Nadella was recounting like a really sad story about how much he loves Copilot and uses. Like, oh yeah, Copilot summarizes podcasts for me in a thing that I can easily listen to or read quickly, and it's just like, man, I don't know how you're engaging with the world. You're engaging with the world through, this is a real Plato's cave situation where the AI is just like shadowing real information at you. And you're like, oh yes, this is the world. This is how it works. Thank you, AI. I couldn't live without you. Anyway, we're in a really weird situation right now. An Apple AI pin. Let us know what you think. Podcastinggadget.com. Cherlynn, anything you want to add about this, or I don't know where the AI wearables are headed, you think?
I think you can just look at I will just say that you can see us covering them a bit more. We will review some of them. I think everything that I've just said about what I like and what I don't like will probably, factor into some of our reviews. Like I think there's a market for some of these. There are people interested in buying them, and so because of that, we have a responsibility to review some of these for our readers. So you'll see that coverage coming up. I'm thinking at some point on Engadget. So look out for it.
Awesome. One thing I want to say, like every time we talk about AI, people say we're too AI critical. I'm doing some AI stuff. Ben right now is using AI to put a little light on his face, to make his video a little nicer, and to blur his background. Let us know.
I use AI like 4 or 5 times a week doing transcriptions of things.
Sure. Transcriptions, your audio processing, sometimes some of the plugins you may be using, maybe doing some computer modeling type of stuff. Let us know how you folks are actually engaging with AI. How does this stuff seem useful to you? Would you use an AI pin? What is your dream AI device? Or do you just, like, personally just make the stuff we use like I'm tied to my phone, right? I use a smartwatch just because it's nice to have that health data, but I think we just need to make the devices we already use smarter. I think that's what everybody wants, not another thing to charge and worry about. Oh no, where's my pin? I guess I have to spend another $100 to replace it, and I hope the whatever data is in there is not accessible to anybody else. Like that to me seems like a losing argument. All right. Sherry, do you want to drop now?
Yeah, I was just gonna like say hi bye to
Yeah.
the chat, and then because I have like a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
And Wes Jackson. Oh my gosh, everyone's still like, the names are still so familiar to me. The letter Y said sup. Rev Rogers, Deep Bro 9, Declan. I feel like
wow, I haven't
everyone's
seen the letter Y in a while.
Yeah, TechSquid TV has so TechSquid TV was like AI. I mean, Apple is completely behind. Blah blah blah. And I agree. Like, I mean, I also would just say that like it felt as if for a while there, Apple was like astutely avoiding it. You know, they
Yeah,
were like, "We're not ready. Let's wait." And
let's wait.
that's been the Apple way, and I don't mind that. But
Mhm.
then to your point, you know, Devindra, this AI pin rumor or report is very like FOMO is the antithesis of that.
Mhm.
So I just thought it was interesting.
They've been punished for waiting. I think anyway. I think
Yes.
they cannot keep doing that, and to me, that's the shame. Like you kind of need some companies being like, "Hey, let's slow your roll there before we
Yeah.
bet our entire business on this unproven technology." But yeah,
So anyway, thanks for everyone who's like here. I've missed y'all and thanks for having me. And I hope I lived up to all the expectations. Hey Wes. All right. All right. Goodbye,
all right. See
everybody.
ya.
I'll
Bye.
send over my
Yes,
clip.
thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. All right, we're gonna finish up, folks. We're gonna talk about what we're working on and some pop culture stuff. Thanks for joining us. Ben, you ready to keep going?
I'm ready to keep going.
All right. Okay, let's go with around Engadget. All right, let's move on to some stuff happening around Engadget. Billy Steele has reviewed the Sony LinkBuds Clip, which are open fit earbuds. He says the benefits aren't enough to stand out. They're $230. We've seen a couple companies. Bose has done a an open thing, the Ultra Open earbuds. These look kind of interesting if you're interested in the idea of open headphones that basically don't block in your ears and still let you hear the outside world. I like open cans, you know, even if they let music out, but I'm not sure about earbuds. I still think the AirPods Pro and a lot of like the noise canceling ones have great transparency modes that kind of simulate that. Also, around Engadget, Tim Stevens, former Engadget editor in chief, has previewed the Volvo EX60 SUV. It has a 400-mile range, 670 horsepower, and Google Gemini on board. I'm Volvo pilled. I've talked about this before. They have had a rocky launch with the EX90, which is their bigger 3-row SUV, and which would technically be my dream car just because I like my XC90 so much. But the software, it seems like Geely, the Chinese company that owns Volvo, has not quite clocked the software, and there are a lot of bugs, a lot of weird issues around that platform. Hopefully that's been fixed up for the EX60. It looks cool. I mean, it's a good looking car. I think I'm just in love with like the Volvo aesthetic because it's very clean, very simple, not too flashy. Looks like the future to me. So yeah, check out that preview of the Volvo EX60. Let's move on to what we're working on. Hey, we got a whole bunch of stuff here. I've got new laptops coming in. Let me see here. Oh, I see what you're dropping in here, Ben. Let me do that again then. You could drop
Yeah.
it in. Okay. Also around Engadget, Steve Dent has reviewed the Canon EOS RX3, R6 III. He calls it a video powerhouse. It's also great for photography. If you've been waiting for the follow-up for the RX, I'm sure this is one for you. This is a big camera. This is a big, beautiful camera. Um, Back in the days when everybody was carrying around DSLRs, he gives it an 88 out of 100 score. Says it has fast shooting speeds, excellent autofocus, powerful video capabilities, impressive image stabilization. But Steve also thinks the photo quality lags behind its main rival, and it's expensive because I see the price is $27.99 at Amazon. So, yeah.
And that's the funny thing. Like,
Mhm.
this is a still camera, could be used as a still camera, will probably be used as a high-end kind of YouTube video camera more than
For sure.
anything.
For sure. But it's also like, I don't know, you know, you can do so much with a mirrorless camera right now. Like the thing, my webcam currently is overkill because it's a Sony A7C, but it is a full frame camera that is great and is much smaller and lighter than this Canon. But I'm sure people find different needs for it. If you have Canon lenses, you're kind of stuck in that ecosystem. So that's the whole thing. Canon EOS RX3. Check out R6 III. Check out our review. Let's move on to what we're working on. I'm getting a whole bunch of new laptops in, so if you want to hear how Intel's new chips are performing, especially with the new Xe graphics, the powerful new GPUs, stay tuned. I'm working on something there. I've also got a mini desktop in from Falcon Northwest, which I'm putting like in my home theater and trying to experiment with desktop PC gaming, but also for your TV and not for your computer screen. So I'll have something around that eventually. Anything you want to shout out, Ben?
Nope, just set me up for picks.
Okay, let's move on to our pop culture picks. What do you got, Ben?
Have you found out about Pablo Torre Finds Out? It's a podcast plug on a podcast, everybody. It's going back to the classics. So I had heard about this show from a bunch of my like radio contacts, and especially like reviewers that I really respect, like Nick Qua, currently at New York Magazine and Vox and such.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "This is an amazing show." I was like, "Yeah, I've heard like some good things." I was honestly a little bit turned off by the fact that the show was on the DraftKings network.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a larger thing. Like Pablo Torre is working with Dan Le Batard right now, and Dan Le Batard's network was was the one that had the deal with DraftKings, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This show is fantastic, and it feels like a step forward in how do we do significant, like substantial feeling journalistic
Mm-hmm.
work in 2026 in podcasts, because it's a chat show. They do 3 episodes a week. And also, they broke a huge story about how Steve Ballmer might have cut a side deal with NBA star Kawhi Leonard to invest some money in like some company that was never going to go anywhere, but it was a way of getting around the NBA
Mm-hmm.
salary cap.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the best way of explaining how Pablo does this is that he is the dungeon master of the conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
He gives information to his co-hosts, and his co-hosts range from like ESPN personalities to what we're currently seeing on the live stream,
Mm-hmm.
which is a conversation with him and Mark Cuban. But he will give them a packet of information, and he'll like walk them through the arc of the conversation. They'll have some laughs along the way,
Mm-hmm.
and then he'll say, "Okay, and I want you to turn to the first page in the packet. And can you read that off and do a live reaction for me?"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes these are things as complicated as tax filings, and usually he's going to give them to finance people who can read the tax filings pretty
Yeah.
easily. But then they're like, whoa, actually, like there's a discrepancy here. It looks like there's some weird skullduggery going on. That is amazing to see. And in a world where the money has gone in the direction of video and chat, a lot of people I know are wondering, how do we continue getting these really interesting, kind of more journalistic stories out there? Pablo is showing us the way forward.
Mm-hmm.
If these stories were done, like, let's say 8 years ago, they would be on a, This American Lifestyle reply all narrative podcast series where they may have done all of the research and then said, hey, I think the Clippers are trying to get around the NBA salary cap.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're kind of also doing this work out in the open, and that also invites a bit more participation from the audience and potentially new tips from new sources,
You gotta find. You
like
gotta
a
find
few
your
months
thing,
later.
right? Like in any media thing, you gotta find your way in and what makes you a little different. And I've seen
Mhm.
some of these clips. Like it's a fun thing, but we're also seeing people like try different ways of handling the interview formats right now. Like Z-Way is doing her thing, and people are signing up to basically be assaulted by her interviews. Like, please hurt me.
I
Yeah.
think Eric Adams wanted a date out of it, but I don't think he got
Ugh,
one.
what a loser. But yeah, like there's her, but also like Hot Ones is a part of this. Hot Ones guy is a great interviewer, but also the pull there is to see people get roasted by hot wings. So like
Yeah.
the whole combination of things, it does. I find this stuff entertaining too. Like it is cool to see like how media shifts itself. Also makes me sad because I'm like, man, how I'm not a circus monkey, right? Like what what act do I have to get to make you all pay attention? And it does make it harder for like, hey man, I just want to have a good interview with people and have people pay attention to it. It makes it much harder for that sort of stuff to really stand up. But this is the world of media we're in right now. You got
And
to
I'm not
figure,
saying that
yeah,
Pablo hasn't also gotten some
yeah,
pushback, especially from sports media.
yeah.
Um,
It's a good gimmick. Like,
Bill,
it's a good gimmick because you can do good work, but also be that sort of like entertaining, you know, interview for people to watch quickly.
yeah, like Bill Simmons
Mm-hmm.
had a lot to say about PTFO's series on Jordan Hudson, who
Mm-hmm.
is Bill Belichick's much decades younger girlfriend. And
Uh-huh.
he's like, this isn't a story.
Yeah.
Like, why are people really focused on this? Meanwhile, Bill Belichick is also very well known as like a Boston sports guy. So,
Mhm.
he has his own allegiances there.
Mhm.
um, I just think that this is a really interesting step forward in a way of doing good journalism
Yeah.
and then also keeping the lights on, because what people didn't like about the peak narrative podcast era, or let me rephrase that,
Uh-huh.
what the advertising people didn't like about peak narrative podcast circa 2015 2016
Mhm.
was that they never knew how much inventory they were going to have. There was always a little message on a show like Reply All saying like, we're going to take a few weeks to like work on some new stories and we'll be back, at the end of the month or something. Meanwhile, the revenue planners are tearing their hair out, and that might be one of the reasons why Gimlet pretty much had the plug pulled on it by Spotify. Meanwhile,
Mhm.
Pablo's figuring out a way to do an interesting interview, a like look into how Rainbolt, the GeoGuessr guy, does his stuff, and
Mhm.
connecting it a little bit to pictures in the Epstein files, figuring out how to connect with what's in the news, make it fun, and then also drop some banger investigations a few times a year. I think it's
That's fun.
cool.
That's fun. It's a good thing that they're, yeah. It's a good thing like more people are exploring different formats of this stuff. So yeah, appreciate it. I have to check out more of his stuff. Is it mainly sports related? Like that's
That's
what's
the
going on?
great thing. It's
Yeah.
not entirely sports related.
Okay.
Um, I was just recently watching a episode where he spent the entire time talking with Wesley Morris about
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
both of them saw the Prince documentary that we might
Mhm.
never see.
That's true. Yes. Yes. I think I listened to that conversation actually. So yeah. God damn, we got to find that Prince documentary. That needs to get out there in the world. But okay, appreciate this. Thank you so much, Ben. Okay, I mentioned a couple of things here. All right, what's up with me is I'm watching a whole bunch of TV shows because I've needed to veg for a while after CES, and I have been checking out Star Trek, Starfleet Academy, which somebody in the chat was pointing out. Like, what are our thoughts on this? Hey, I think this is a pretty fun entry into the Star Trek universe. It's very much like being built up as a teen show eventually, but it starts with like it's a big space adventure framed in a way that's really interesting. Stars a kid who was initially imprisoned and separated from his mother by the Federation and is brought in to basically to be a member of Starfleet Academy as the Federation tries to as Starfleet tries to make amends for what they did. He's looking for his mother. The villain is played by Paul Giamatti. I love a Mr. Paul Giamatti in like
Mm.
full on scenery chewing, I'm a bad guy role, and Paul Giamatti as a Star Trek villain. It's a lot of fun. I like the kids. You've got some recurring characters. I believe the Doctor from Voyager is back. Tig Notaro's in this. She was in Discovery. It's good. Like Tig Notaro's character is like, yeah, I traveled 1,000 years and now I'm here. Okay, in this other show. Uh, it is crazy what happened. If you don't know what happened in Discovery, they were like freaking warping throughout the universe. Time travel became a thing. It's like that show just went places. Was not an entire fan of like where it went, but where it started was really cool. Anyway, I'm digging Starfleet Academy. It's pretty good. I'm also watching the second season of Fallout on Amazon Prime Video. I mainlined the first season over the past few weeks because I honestly forgot to watch all of it. It's a pretty good show. Season one's pretty good, pretty solid, like a really great video game adaptation. Season two, I think, is maturing a bit and adding new characters and just like it's a fun it's a fun show. Walton Goggins is great as the ghoul. You could tell they're throwing a lot of money at it. You've got some fun guest stars popping up. Macaulay Culkin is in season two of Fallout. Camille Nanjiani pops up for a bit. So clearly, like they're at the point where people want to jump in and do an episode or two of Fallout. It's a pretty solid adaptation. It's been years since I've like genuinely loved a Fallout game, but I do like the show quite a bit. But let us know what you're watching, folks, and let us know what you think of these shows. Podcastandgadget.com. I think you can wrap.
Okay. Thanks everybody for listening. Or no. That's the end of the episode. Thanks everybody for listening. Our theme music is by game composer Dale North. Our outro music is by our former managing editor, Terrence O'Brien. The podcast is produced by me, Ben Ellman. You can find Devindra online at
Devindra on Blue Sky, and I talk about movies and TV at the Filmcast at thefilmcast.com.
If you want to tell me interesting shows that you're watching, it doesn't matter if they're 15 years old or not. You can find me at Blue Sky or on Blue Sky at Hey Bellman. Email us at podcast@engadget.com. Leave us a review on iTunes and subscribe on anything that gets podcasts. That includes Spotify.
Thanks, folks. We're out. All right, let's talk to chat a bit. Hello, folks. Wes Jackson says, did I see that Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland is bringing original trilogy characters back? I did not. I've not really been paying attention to that. I wanted to go to the hotel, but they're killing that whole thing.
Did you actually want to go to the Star Wars hotel?
The Star Wars hotel. If we're gonna do a thing, gonna do a crazy Star Wars thing, it would be the hotel. I'm not a Disney.
It was stupid expensive, though.
Yeah, I want to do it. I would love to like write about it. I'd love to cover it. I wouldn't want to pay.
Well, okay, yes. I would love to expense a lot of things too.
I would love to experience it because that was the only thing I'm looking forward to. I am not a Disney adult. I've been to Disney World once and Epcot when I was like in middle school and high school, and it's fine. I'm gonna have to bring the kids at some point, and that is like that is not a thing I'm looking forward to because it's just like nightmare of kids at an amusement park. That's what I would have to do. I can't just like sit and experience and love the things.
Lucky Dog Podcast says yay or nay on the new Game of Thrones show. Give me Robert's Rebellion or give me nothing. I don't care anymore.
I forgot to mention it, but that show, that show is based on some novellas. It's fun. It's a lark. That's all it is. It's like a limited series. They have this license to like keep doing more Game of Thrones stuff. I like the first episode of the show quite a bit. Yeah. Let's see here. I see Deeper 09 says Mercy's a fun anti-AI movie now playing in theaters. Deeper 09, that is one of the worst reviewed movies I've seen in recent memory. A movie where Chris Pratt plays a man named Chris Raven. You know they've like given up on the ideas when they can't even like change the actor's first name. But also like it's like a Family Guy spoof, right? It feels like a joke of a sci-fi movie when the name is Raven.
Yeah.
That character seem badass.
Yeah.
No thank you. No thank you. That's from Timur Bekmambetov, the guy who did Night Watch and Wanted way back in the day. He's big on the Screen Life movies now. But yeah.
What happened to Chris Pratt? He was he ever a lovable goofball, actually?
He was a lovable goofball.
Well, no, but like in his heart, was he actually the lovable goofball, or was he always just like, I don't know, ambitious and willing to change himself, and the current form that we saw him, get famous in was the lovable goofball?
There are many things. Fame does many things to people. I won't forgive him for divorcing Anna Faris. Come on, how dare you?
Actually, I think Anna Faris got the good end of that deal because who wants to stay Yeah.
Her career is not really going anywhere right now, but that's a whole conversation. But yeah, poor Chris Pratt. I think like as soon as they started treating him as leading, like capital L leading man, I think that's where
Hmm.
it started to go wrong. Like love him in Guardians of the Galaxy, that used his energy really well. Good God, do I hate those Jurassic World movies? I hate them so much. And he didn't understand why they didn't work. But anyway, chat, how we doing? How we doing, folks?
One day in like 15 or so years, somebody's going to come out with some really banger analysis of the Chris Pratt, like Deadpool, like snarky guy, archetype. And
Mhm.
like, where did that come from? How are there so many of them right now? It's something that we
Yeah.
can't really talk about because we're like currently in it. But once it's like far enough in the rearview mirror.
It's I mean, a quick analysis that stems from a lot of like 90s edgy comics, right? 90s
Yeah.
90s edgy comics which eventually were translated to film and then embodied by people who just did that. So Ryan Reynolds is the guy who did that for his entire career. Dude has been around forever.
Mhm, mhm.
So I feel like that's part of it. But yeah, that will require further analysis on another
Yeah,
podcast.
somebody's gonna come up with some term like indie sleaze, but it's like Gen X snark or something like that.
Yeah.
We've got Declan talking about Passengers, a movie that was creepy and poisoned his image in everyone's mind. Yeah, because
Also bad movie.
spoilers, but I don't care about anybody who is annoyed about being spoiled about Passengers. He woke up
Yeah.
his leading lady, right? And
Mhm.
he's like, "Oh, actually, oh no, both of our cryopods malfunctioned. That's so bad."
Oh man. Pratt has been while we're here, we have a little time. He has been in so many like just completely forgettable movies, especially like Netflix stuff. Nobody saw The Electric State. The Electric State. That movie doesn't exist. It is such a nothing burger of a movie. It doesn't exist. But that's the one I'm thinking of. What is he? Is he in Terminalist? Yeah, Terminalist.
Okay,
All these
cool.
TV things that barely exist. The Tomorrow War. I saw the Tomorrow War on Amazon. One of the dumbest things, like one of the dumbest bits of sci-fi I've seen in a while. So he just plays lead man guy in sci-fi, and it's a
Mhm.
shame. My kids love the Lego movies. He's the lead of the Lego movie. That actually captures his energy pretty well. Goofy, lovable guy. He doesn't have to be action hero man. You know, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, now you've got me started, folks. I think we can wrap.
Yep. So, thank you everybody for sticking around. Thumbs up the stream if you haven't already. That would always be appreciated. OBS is by Devindra, camera switching by me, production by me. Listen to the audio version of the podcast. Download it. Just to throw some numbers our way. That would be
Throw some troops
nice.
in our way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So thanks everybody. Thanks to Rev Rogers, aka Tom Rogers, dude named Chris, the letter Y, Declan, Lucky Dog Podcast. Who else was here? Simon B, D Pro, Wes Jackson, if I haven't mentioned Wes Jackson already, Tech Squid TV. Thanks everybody for being in the chat. You remember things we forget. You always make the show a little bit better. Thanks a bunch, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, folks. We're out.